to discard that because of the lack of the time and more concentrate on the live demonstration what Reaxys can do. So what I will actually show you are very basic searches, nevertheless very important and instrumental for you. So as you know, any complex question can be digested to the smaller parts, smaller queries can be searched and then joined by the Boolean operators. So mastering these basic searches is actually key for successfully working with any databases and particularly with the Reaxys. Nevertheless, before I start live demonstration, also I don't see you, any of you. So if you have any question during the presentation, please unmute yourself and ask directly, or we will have little bit time at the end we can answer questions. Now, before I start demoing Reaxys Live, I want to show still one slide to talk about what Reaxys is. You might not be familiar, maybe heard about the database, but why it exists, what's the reason d'etre. So here is one sentence which I characterize Reaxys. I coined this phrase. It's a unique, fully integrated web-based search and retrieval system for four things: chemistry compounds, bibliographic data, chemical reactions, and experimental properties. So in English, that means that it's a reference chemistry database. Like Cook uses reference cookbook every day for everyday work. If you are a chemist, you will be using this database every day. There are only two databases in the world who are reference chemistry databases. These are SciFinder, you're familiar with, I hope, and Reaxys. That's it. No other database can even come close in the chemistry field to be named as a reference. There are some other databases which are specialized ones like STN, but they are difficult to use. They have very specialized use and are not as widely used as SciFinder of Reaxys. So to recapitulate what Reaxys does, it gives you all the information about the compound, about reactions, about properties, basically all the chemistry science. Now, there is some competitive information there, who is working on particular subject. Again, these traditional bibliographical things, but this is not the best database for that kind of questions, like citation index for the particular researcher or affiliation. There are other databases like Web of Science or Scopus, which answers these questions with in a great detail. Also, I see there are plenty of biochemists here, so I want to make this comment right now. Again, this is a chemistry database, and we had huge internal debate like 2 years ago, which continues actually, how much biological information should be included here. So as you know, genomics information, proteomics, there are excellent other databases that you can use for metabolomics and so on. So Reaxys is not profiled to handle that kind of information because it's totally different. Like genome analysis, it's not the purpose of the chemistry databases, for example. But obviously there is an overlap and we will be talking about that. But please keep in mind, this is a chemistry science database. So if you want to know, if you have science question regarding chemistry, in particular about compounds, reactions, and properties, and also you want to search bibliographical information, you come to Reaxys. So with these introductions, I will directly go to the live demo. And my understanding is that you guys already have trial starting. So this is the perfect time to introduce
Yes, it's correct. Just a second, Araceli. Oi, pessoal, eu esqueci de avisar, mas o que o Araceli falou é correto. O trial, o trial de vocês começa hoje, no dia 25 de abril, e vai até o dia 25 de maio. Então, se vocês já quiserem entrar na solução, ela já está disponível para vocês da UFBA. Yes. Sorry, Heracles. I was just saying that the trial is already up to date.
That's perfectly all right. Thank you. Thank you, Pedro. So this is a Reaxys landing page. This is what you see when you open the Reaxys. And there are two things before I start showing you searches I want to point out. First, in the right upper corner, you see my name, which means that I have username and password when we are logging in the database. To register, this is instrumental for any user. It's not for tracking. It's not what you are doing. We don't track. However, what registration does, it allocates private folder for you on Elsevier server. Why this is important? Because anytime you do searches, you can save it. You can also save the result set. And also for retrosynthesis tool to work, you need to have the private space on Reaxys server. So Reaxys will work except retrosynthesis tool. If you don't have user login, work as an anonymous, you can do searches, you can see the results, but once the session is over, everything would be lost. So the first thing, before you start even working with the database, please register, create your username. This will take you a minute or 30 seconds, and after that, you can work freely. Now, where to get help? Obviously, you will need help while working with the database. So help is obtained by pressing this tiny microscopic question mark, if you can see it. So when I press that, it takes me to the Reaxys Support Center, and it's organized in FAQ. You type your question here, and hopefully you get your answer. Also, besides, there is a wealth of information on this page. And again, I don't have time to go through, but I want to point out this training session where you have all the short videos of basic searches, how to do basic searches in Reaxys. And I strongly recommend to look at them at your leisure time. So now let's go back to Reaxys and do some fun stuff. So the philosophy of the database is that it should be easily usable. That's the key question with the chemistry database design, because the content, what's in the database, that's not an issue anymore. We have it, SciFinder has it, content is easily obtained. What's the problem is to have good search engine, which is easy to interact with and gives you relevant results fast. And I think we nailed it. So how we approaching it is we try to make Reaxys usable for every chemist. You don't need to be librarian or information scientist or chem informatician to use Reaxys. Anyone, first-year student or experienced researcher can use the database. So how we approach this? We approach this by having multiple entry points to start your search. So basic workflow is you have chemical question, you formulate it and try to communicate it with the computer. And the easiest way to communicate is just type the concept, like everybody now uses Google Scholar. So that's as simple as it can get. And in most cases, this will give you relevant answers. So let's start with that. Here is, you see Google type search box. So you just type your concept, the question, and I will use carbamazepine, which is an organic molecule. It's actually a drug, anti-epileptic drug, old one. And we will use that as an example through the presentation. So imagine you want to prepare it, to synthesize it, or you are looking for the methods how it may be synthesized. So you just type preparation of carbamazepine. So that's your question, and then press find. Now, this Google box has tiny brain of its own, very small one, which tries to interpret what you want to search. So since you typed preparation, it thought that probably you want reactions, where probably the product is carbamazepine. And that's what exactly it gives you in the first line. So again, another basic principle of Reaxys is full transparency. We don't operate as a black box. Anything you see has its explanation and evidence behind it. So when I say this tiny Google type box has a brain of its own, you want to know how it works. So to quickly demonstrate you how it does, in this preview page, if you look at the middle, it says edit in the query builder. We will go to the query builder in a moment, but I just want to show you here, when I press this pencil, how basically Reaxys interpreted your query. And what you see right here is what Reaxys did, took your query, translated in the structure, carbamazepine, and constructed half reaction where carbamazepine is a product. So every reaction in the database where the product is carbamazepine will come up as a positive hit. Okay, so that's the particular interpretation of that query. Now, if we go back, we will come back to these reactions I want to show in a moment, but there are other lines here. And sometimes, for some people,
Hi, Oracle, just a second.
yes,
Pessoal, se vocês quiserem que o Oracle faça alguma pesquisa, alguma busca em cima de alguma substância química, algum modo de preparação, fiquem à vontade, podem escrever aqui no chat, vocês também estão habilitados. Vocês podem tirar o microfone do mute, fica à vontade. É que esse exemplo daqui eu acho sensacional quando ele faz. E é algo que ele trabalhou em cima. Mas podem interromper a apresentação a qualquer momento, beleza? Sorry, Oracle, I was just saying to
Sorry,
the
Pedro,
audience.
but my
Oi, hi,
chat is
Professor Akatsu.
meu chat está desabilitado.
Oh, it's not working?
Not open.
Deixa eu tentar escrever aqui para você, professor. Você consegue ver agora que eu escrevi?
No, I
Lá
can't.
embaixo. Conseguiu?
Não.
Lá
what's happening?
embaixo.
Agora, ok, agora.
We are talking about the chat. To drop the question there.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't have ability to monitor chat. So Pedro, I really appreciate if you do that. Can I continue?
Just a second.
Okay, sure.
Se você quiser
But I can't
escrever lá,
write.
qualquer pessoa. Perfeito.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Oracle.
Sorry about the interruption. So I was talking about preview page of the simple search. We covered this first line, but you also have several others. We will ignore last two, but the second line is very important. So this is another interpretation how Reaxys interpreted your query and search it. And you notice that you have different set of results. Here you have reactions, and here you have documents. And if you go to the edit query builder, so this is sometimes confusing why I'm showing to this, why we have so many different types of the searches, because chemistry data has different structures. So first is a purely reaction search. And the second, we have classical bibliographic search, which you are very familiar. So look at this. In the second case, Reaxys took the words preparation and carbamazepine and looked it in titles, abstracts, and keywords. So bibliographical data. So let's look for this first, and we will circle back to the reactions, which is much more interesting in my opinion. So if I press, first of all, edit query builder and see how this query was interpreted. Look at this. In the query builder, you can see that it's a combination of 3 different shorter queries. First, all the words related to preparation, like formation, make, making, and so on, has been looked in titles, abstracts, and keywords. That's one part. Also, Reaxys looked at the structures of the records where this structure is present as a chemical structure, or in any record when the title, abstract, and keyword mentions the name of carbamazepine and its synonyms. So it combined these 2 things with OR operator, and then combined it with an AND operator with formulation, preparation, making, and so on. And then search documents. So when you see this kind of search, you don't see any formulas here, any reactions. It's purely bibliographical search, like you search the Google Scholar or any other bibliographical database. Nevertheless, why I'm showing this to you, this is important part for workflow when you are doing Reaxys search. Maybe you are interested in reactions, and that's great. You will see it in a moment, but also you need to look at the documents which contains the important keywords, because sometimes keywords are the only things you have. Like if you are looking, for example, some photochemistry or something like that, you start from the keywords and you don't have idea what reactions you want on what compound you have. You have a concept. So this is good start. And for example, why this first record is in this result set, you can see that if I open an abstract, so it has this carbamazepine, that's what we wanted. That's the name of the compound, and also formation. So as simple as that. This is the simple search, bibliographical search. We will come back to the filters later when we show the reactions. But here I want to conclude this document search. Don't ignore it. Also, if you do reaction search or compound property search and you get your data, that's great. If you don't get it, you need to consider searching with keywords. So let me go back to the quick search. And now concentrate on reactions. So let's go and look at the view. So Reaxys found 144 reactions where the product is carbamazepine, or one of the products, as you can see here. And that's what we wanted. Now, this is since you are starting trial, you will be doing this kind of searches. So you entered your question, database did its search, and this is what you are presented as results. So what are the results? Results are collection of records. In our case, we have 144 records. And this is the basic structure of Reaxys results page. It has 3 parts. First, you have these tiny avatars, which are very helpful because every time you do the search, new one appears. Why this is important? Because you can always backtrack your progress. So if you didn't like something, you can always press the previous one and go step back, and so on. That's one thing. Second, we have filters. Filters are very important to refine your result set. Now, we have 144 reactions, which is not bad, but imagine this number was like 14,000 or something like that. Unworkable number. So that means 2 things. Either you reformulate your question, make it more specific, or you use filters to refine your data set. Let me demonstrate. Now we have this 144 reactions, and maybe I'm not interested in all of them, but interested in only in high yield reactions. So how I do that? I open the yield, and what this tab structure tells me is that out of this 144, there are 2 records which reports yield more than 95%. There are 4 records which report yield between 90 and 95, and so on. And if I press view more, you will see that the most of the record doesn't have particular number of yield. Yield is not reported.
Directly.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Professor Samuel was asking, he said the searching feature is very interesting. Could I search for experimental drugs like CAMBL ID or SCA's number?
Now, this is possible. This is very advanced search, and I will demonstrate that in a moment. At the end, when I for example, do the medicinal chemistry part of it. So, okay, let me go back for a moment. So I was talking about the filter. So if you want this, for example, high yield reactions, you select them and then limit to, and so on. So you can use filters in parallel or sequentially. So if I want to select solvent, which is non-toxic, I can do that too, and apply filters further down. Now, let's concentrate on this results page. Now, it has wealth of information. The first one is the reaction itself. You can see that. But you are a chemist. You are investigating this for a reason. And probably what you are most interested are experimental procedures. And they are also listed here, which is extracted from the literature. So you have the snippet. And if you want to go and look at details, you see also details. Now, will this be with every reaction, every single one? Probably not, because if it's not reported, but reaction is reported, it will be extracted, but there are no experimental procedures, so some reactions might not have it, but these are minority. Most of them, when chemists write the article or patent, it's usually there. So this is the snippet. That's very interesting, but we are scientists. We don't trust anybody on everybody except sources, original source. So another great feature of Reaxys is everything is referenced. So if you like this procedure, you go to the full text and look at this. Because this is the patent, I'm taken to US Patent Office of S%, and when I press description, it's probably somewhere here. This is original article or the patent which this data was extracted from. Now, since we are on the patents, let me make the one comment. We used to disregard patents in academia because they are notoriously difficult to search, but now we cannot ignore them anymore because 75% of new compounds come from the patents. So patent search is super important. Now, if you, for example, don't want to search patent and want to search particular document type, you open this tab called document type, and either you select patent, exclude it, or limit to. So you have ability to filter by the document type. Again, to finish with this general view and filters here, I want to say one thing. There are 600 different fields which can be, Reaxys data can be filtered. Obviously, we cannot put all 600 here because it would be unusable. So why we have only these 12? First, you notice that all of them are related to reactions. Like you have yield, you have reagent, catalyst, you have solvents, and so on. So if you were searching documents, these would be fields which are different. They will be related to the document type, authors, and so on. And if you are searching compound, it would be compound related information. So bottom line here is that we put most used fields for your convenience, so quickly to filter this data. Now, what happens if you don't see a particular property or quantity you want to filter with? Like if you're looking reaction rate or something like that, which is not here, but you are interested in particular in that. So what you do is go back and redesign your query, and we have tools for that I will talk about in a moment. So again, data is in the database, but art is to design the right query, ask the right question to get what you want. All right? So what else we have here? Again, I'm concentrated on the reaction set, but this is very similar if you are searching compound on bibliography, the structure of the results page. There are subtle differences, as you noticed already. I showed you the document search page. There was no formulas, no reactions, bibliographical data, but the structure of the results page is the same. So with the reactions, we have two important things. First is, imagine this is the reagent, you like this reaction, you want to do something with it in the laboratory. So first thing you look is availability of the compound and how much it costs. That's important because if it's very expensive, you probably find something else or synthesize it yourself. So this shopping cart gives you commercial suppliers, availability, and the price sometimes of this particular compound. You see that it's dirt cheap, so it's probably easier to buy, order, and use it. However, imagine this compound was very expensive and you decided to synthesize it. For that, you will press this flask, which creates synthesis routes. And this is the very unique and very advanced Reaxys feature. Of course, iFinder can do and search for synthesis node, but not as elegantly as Reaxys. We pride ourselves in this tool, and let me show why. So imagine you want to synthesize this molecule. Look at this. 1 click, 2 clicks, create retrosynthesis plans. You are presented with this screen. I will leave it to defaults. As a first blush, you can edit it. And then third click, and you are basically done. So what happened here? This is my projects page, which is my personal, nobody can see it. And what I did, I launched the retrosynthesis for this particular molecule. Now, if molecule is published and reactions are already in database, it's very fast and you already have 5 published routes. That's what by default Reaxys gives you. However, if you are synthesizing novel molecule, which hasn't been published, and we shall see that in a moment, it will kick predictive retrosynthesis tools, which is very computational intense. We have actually servers from Amazon renting to do that predictive retrosynthesis. And it takes some computational time, usually 10 minutes, which translates in several minutes or hours even for humans. So if you launch predictive retrosynthesis tools, you go drink coffee, come back and look at the results. You can see it's still going. But I want to concentrate now on published results So let me press view, and what you see is the preview of all these 5 synthetic routes, where you can see the topology and when you can see general overview of the reaction. So if you are interested in that, you press preview and you go, here is the second route chosen, and this is basically a synthesis route published in the literature in this case, and you see outline, and most importantly, what you see is where it came from, and if experimental procedures are there, they would be listed. You notice that this particular reaction came from another patent. In this case, it's a Chinese patent. And it's not surprising because this is a drug, old drug, and a lot of pharma companies worked on this drug. Okay? But important thing here is that evidence is there. If you like it, you can always go to the full text. I'm sure this reaction initially came up when I searched this 144 reaction, because that was synthesis of the carbamazepine. So what you see here is one of these 144 reactions, right? All right, so let me go back to the quick search, and I think I covered that in more or less with this Google type box. Just to finish with it is, let's, for the sake of fun, just enter the compound name.
Sorry,
So if I,
Irakli.
yes, go ahead.
Professor Samuel asked, please, could you explain again the reaction prediction tool? Are there some difference from partner drugs and new experimental, not patent drugs?
Oh, as far as synthesis goes, or in general, what's in the patent and what's not in the patent? So basically, we don't care what source we are extracting information. We extracting from everything. We are extracting from patent. We can extracting from the articles and presenting you. You as a scientist then decide the validity of the data. We don't check anything. But with the new retrosynthesis, if something was not published, actually, I want to show you this after I will finish with this carbamazepine. I will do and show one novel molecule which has not been synthesized yet, show how to do it. Will this work for you?
Sorry, Irakli, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, there's, all right. All right, so I will show you this in a moment. So let me finish with this carbamazepine very quick. So I will press find. And now I don't have any reactions because I entered the compound name. So Reaxys thought what I want is the compound information. And I also have this document part. So let's go and quickly view the results. I will skip a lot of here because you already seen basic structure. Again, it is similar, but not identical. You don't have reactions anymore. What you have is a compound information, compound structure, a lot of physical data, bioactivity data, spectral data, and look at the filters. Filters are different. They are now compound related. So you have structure, molecular weight, number of fragments, and so on. So what you can see here is, again, let's select this first one. First of all, you have some boring part, which is, you know, all the identity information like CAS number and so on. But that's not what you are coming in Reaxys for. Most important probably is physical data, bioactivity data, and spectral data. So if I open the bioactivity data, and this is the similar structure for any other properties. They are nicely organized in the groups. So if I go to pharmacokinetic data and open it, this is what I see. And now This is general structure. You have the parameter, you have value, some experimental condition, and most importantly, you have reference where this parameter was extracted. And circling back to the questions one of you asked, can I search for particular parameter? Yes, it is possible. You need to design particular query which searches for example, particular field like parameter value and parameter definition. So it would be like when you select this field, you can enter PKD, for example, or something like that. So this is possible, but this is a little bit advanced query design subject. Also, this is pharmacokinetic data. You have toxicity, pharmacology data, same thing. Anything we looked at about this carbamazepine in patents or scientific literature has been extracted, especially the properties, and put in these searchable bins, and they are easily available for you. The keyword here is they are searchable. So if you want compound with particular property, you can search that. I will show this in a moment. So finishing with this, also, if you are looking in the compound, you might be interested in the spectral data. Here is the spectral data, and let me focus on NMR spectroscopy. You don't see high resolution spectra here. We don't have that because there are specialized databases for that particular information. However, we have the next best thing. So we have experimental conditions like nucleus and reference. So if you are looking on C13 spectra of the carbamazepine, this is where you find it. If you press full text, it will take you to the patent. Probably they will have the full spectra, or it might be the scientific article or so on. So this is very, very important. And finally, the physical data, there is plenty of it. This is very well studied drug. So if I open the melting point again, it records the value and also the reference. So if you are a chemist looking for compound or reaction information, this is how Reaxys presents it to you. Okay, now, two more subjects I want to cover right now. Before I go to that, I want to show what you can do with these results. Okay, this is great results. I have like 324 substances here, 322. So I can select them individually, or I can select them as a group, like 15, or I can extend it, load more and extend it and have a bigger group. But once they are selected, what you can do, you can export. And the export function is very important in Reaxys because that's actually what you really want. And we are not allowing only PDF or Microsoft Word export, but all other formats. Most importantly are MOL files. If you want to further process Reaxys search results in some other program, you can do that. Or what most people use is Microsoft Excel. All this information can be exported, and then you can process in Microsoft Excel or in any other program. You can import the Excel file and process it there. So it's very, very flexible. So to export, you need to select the format, select what you want to export, press this button. It will prepare a file for you, which you can download. Now, let's go back to Query Builder. So what we covered so far was this easy Microsoft Google Type Box tool. That's great, but we are chemists, so we love structures. So the next level of sophistication is enter your query using structure editor. And Reaxys has great ability to do that. So you press this draw button and you are presented with two structure editors, Marvin Sketch and ChemDraw. Every chemist in the world uses ChemDraw. So if you have your reaction or compound in the ChemDraw, all you need to do is Control C, Control V, copy and paste, and drop it down to blank canvas. Then select these search options as drawn, as substructure, similar, and all these options, and then search the reaction. Now, I will be using Marvin Sketch because I use this all the time, but it's very similar to ChemDraw. So you can draw the molecule from the scratch if you want to, copy and paste, import it. So import, and to show you what files can be imported in the Reaxys, look at this. You can, any kind of, you have smiles, you have mol files, smarts, anything. But my favorite one is insert structure from the name. So if I open it and just to type, again, I'm focusing on carbamazepine. Here you are. So this is easier steps, and then you can select and start modifying it and so on. So I will not cover this because you are very familiar with this. You are a chemist and you use ChemDraw. But once the structure is finished, you can select these options and press transfer to query, and it will be searched. Of course, you can do reactions as well. So here is the half reaction if I want to construct. So you have, very similar to ChemDraw, products on the right side, reagents on the left side, and you can even put catalyst on the top. So this is quite elaborate structural editor we have in the Reaxys, and people really like it. And finally, if we go, so we covered Google Typebox and structure editor, and what we also have is a query builder. Query builder is very advanced tool which allows you to design arbitrary complexity query. The one which one of you asked if you want to search particular property, for example, how you do that. So that's where you do it. And let me explain. For example, here, you start with a blank canvas, and the idea is that you construct your query, which a priori did not exist. Then, once the query is constructed, you fill it with values and do the search. So let me give you a simple example, very quick one. Imagine you are interested in indole derivatives, but not all of them. You don't care of them. There are thousands and tens of thousands of them, but with particular physical or chemical properties. So I will do the simple ones like density more than 1 and rotatory power between 40 and 50. So how I communicate this question to Reaxys? I cannot type this in the Google type box. It won't give me any results. Give me all indole derivatives with the density more than 1 and rotatory power between 40 and 50. Won't fly. But Reaxys has this great mechanism to do it. So how you do it is very simple. Digest your question to smaller parts, use the appropriate fields, and join them with the Boolean operator. So let me demonstrate. So I want indole derivatives with particular chemical and physical properties. So first part is indole derivatives. For that, I will use structure editor to communicate that information with the computer. Okay. Also, I want the density property. So how I search it. And here is the search field, search form, let me put this way, because Reaxys has more than 600 different fields. And nobody, including me, knows these fields by heart. And you don't need to. You just type it. And I have some already typed here, but you don't need even to think, just type it.
Hi, Araceli?
Yes.
Just to let you know, we have 5 minutes.
Yes, yes, I will be done in 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I will select density. It already prompts you. And let's do the rotatory power. So optical rotatory power. Here you are. So I have 3 different fields, and by default, they are joined by the AND operator. But you can change that. So you can design arbitrary structure of the query. That's the beauty of it. But now let's keep it simple. I have my query, and then I just start filling with the values. So here I will do indol done. Because I want derivatives, I will search as a substructure, transfer it. So the first part is great. Second part is density. And I will select more than 1 because I want density more than 1. Okay. There are some other fields because it's a property measured under some experimental conditions. If you care about them, you can enter, but usually not. And finally, rotatory power. So here is the value. I can enter the range. And I can enter some additional data. I don't remember the wavelengths it was measured, but I will enter the range. And that's it. I have query which has not existed 30 seconds ago. That's the beauty of this tool. It's your own query, particular for your particular question. And when I press substances, it will go and select, I don't know how many it will select right now, 30 substances out of many millions. And you see why this molecule is part of the positive response, because it has indole as a substructure. And when you see the hit data, this is also a nice feature of Reaxys, you see the density is more than 1, and optical rotatory power, it's in the range we specified. Now, going to the query builder, it looks intimidating for the novice users how to use it. So we made it simple for you. So before you do any query building of yourself, go to the forms. And forms are the great way to start searching. Because if you don't know how to use Reaxys or where to start your search, go to forms, and probably we have pre-made query form for your use. I designed some of them, my colleagues designed some of them, so they are there to help you. So here's some Reaxys forms. And for example, if you don't know how to search patterns, never searched it before, you just press it, and here is the default form, which we think is a good first blush for your searching. So now you know what fields you can use for your searching, like titles and abstract, patent assignee, and so on. Now, these forms can be modified, like I can add new fields, regroup the fields here, but as a starter, it's a good, nice form. Now, let me one more example, and we will stop there. So Reaxys target and bioactivity. If you are a medicinal chemist, you go here. So you go to Query Builder, you go to Forms, and here are the workflows when we work with medicinal chemists, what they are mostly interested. So these are most common workflows, and let me demonstrate this. And in the parallel, I will demonstrate also the medicinal chemistry part of the Reaxys. So imagine you have a target and you are interested with the compounds which hit this target with high affinity. This is very common question. So here is the form, affinity on target. It has several things, but I will make it simple. So I have target name. Let's use AKT1. That's a kinase, you know. Very good. So I will skip target nature, it's wild type or mutant, but substance action of target, you can refine that and select it from here. And imagine I'm only interested in inhibitors. Okay. So transfer. And also I want high affinity. So we have this integral index px, which works like pK. but it's integral. It's an Elsevier invention. So, but it roughly relates to the affinity, higher the px, higher the affinity. So I will put 8 here. And basically, that's my query. I put the values here, then press substances. And what I'm getting is, look at that. Out of many millions of molecules, I have 686 molecules, which satisfies my criteria. So we have very nice tool for visualizing medicinal chemistry data. So you press heat map tool. And what you see here is targets on x-axis and compounds on y-axis. Why we have 5? Because there is one wild type and some mutants. We haven't specified, but we want only wild type. But most of the data is wild type. And you see that wortemanin, for example, the first compound, as a compound here, and target, and all the interaction information is obtained by pressing this green square. So px is 8 and 1. This doesn't tell you anything. The actual parameter, what was measured in original source, was IC50. So we at Elsevier converted IC50 to px. And why this conversion is necessary? Because some report KD, some report IC50, some report AC50, EC50, and so on. There are literally dozens of different parameters, and you need to compare them. You cannot compare IC50 with PK or something. You need to convert. So to normalize all these different parameters, we came up with PX. So it works very well. So you do comparisons based on this PX. However, actual measured value, if you are interested then in and investigate in more detail, would be reported also, and most importantly, the source would be reported. So to finish with all this, I go back to Query Builder. And if I go to forms, there are many interesting forms for medicinal chemists and please explore there. So affinity on target, also selectivity profile. So it hits one target and does not hit other group of proteins, bioavailability, and so on. Now, these are great forms, but you also can construct your own forms if you want to, but that's probably subject for next time training because we are out of time and these are more advanced subjects. So I will stop here. Thank you very much for staying with me. I hope it was informative. And we will go to the question and answer session. So Pedro can help me with that.
Yes.
There was one question, please, could we explain again the reaction prediction tool, some
Yeah.
difference of patent drug and new, no patented drugs. Again, if molecule you are working is brand new, obviously there's nothing reported about it in the literature. So what predictive retrosynthesis tool does, it's big story, but to make it short, it has artificial intelligence algorithm, AI, actually, which are based on the known reactions, and Reaxys has the best organic reaction set. So we took that set, trained the algorithm. Algorithm is not ours. These guys who designed the algorithm came to us because we had data set. Algorithm itself is like baby. Brain is totally clean. You need to train it. So once we trained it, this prediction tool works very well. So although there is no literature references for the new molecule, this prediction tool tries to come up with synthesis route based on rules it derived from the known reactions. So Pedro, if we have one more minute, I can quickly demonstrate.
I think we can go. It's so interesting. Go ahead.
Okay,
But please,
absolutely.
don't go too far, my friend. We have
No.
4 minutes.
So I'm going to the retrosynthesis. So let's do that. Uh, so let's go to the my projects, and let's start from the new. So here where I start, blank canvas, and I have prepared the molecule which nobody ever synthesized. So I have smile of this here in the notepad. So I'm copying that and pasting here in structure editor to save the time. So this molecule has not been synthesized before, and just press synthesize. And it starts doing its work. It will do it for half an hour or something like that. But I already have this molecule here, and let me show the result. See, there is 0 published and 3 predicted. So if I press view, what you see here is 3 roots, Reaxys, predicted, not found, predicted. And there is a score. Again, not going into details. Higher score means better feasibility, but that doesn't mean that if score is lower, you can discard it. But if we select this tree view, this is actually predicted synthesis route. Now, on the left-hand side, you have synthesis route, which is predicted, but then you can ask question, Reaxys, why you think this will work? What was the basis of your prediction? You want to know, as a chemist, how Reaxys did it. And here is the evidence on the right-hand side. So what Reaxys is telling you is, based on this published data by some other researcher, so these reactions, I derive the rules and then I use it for prediction. And that's why I think this might work, because these rules worked in these original reactions. This is the key point here. Again, although your molecule has not been synthesized yet, but it has groups, structure, and Reaxys derived like 300,000 rules from already existed reactions and using these rules as a templates to predict. Now, there are some limitations, obviously, and so on, but the key point is, once you do the prediction, you have retrosynthesis rule, you are a scientist, computer already did its job, and now you need to validate what these predictions are. Maybe it's total, I wouldn't say garbage, but it's not applicable for your conditions. And that's where your expertise is coming in. But Reaxys already did huge job. It saved a lot of your time. And it also may suggest different concepts we never thought about. And that happens all the time. And when I'm talking about time, it's sometimes weeks of your work and sometimes months. So this is very powerful tool. Okay, I'll stop here. I hope I demonstrated it. Please
I know,
try
it's
it.
very
Try it.
exciting, Ironically. It's very tempting to keep going. Professor Samuel just said pretty good, this retrosynthesis tool. Just a second, my friend, directly. I'm switching for Portuguese because Professor Acacia, she's from Modern University, and she was asking for a trial. I'm just giving some instructions. Just a second, and I'm going to come back soon with you. Bem, pessoal, primeiro, muito obrigado, professor Samuel, muito obrigado por ter aberto as portas de novo. É um prazer estar trazendo o Reaxys, todas essas novas funcionalidades, essa parte da retrossíntese é muito legal. Como o Irakli falou, é uma economia de dias, semanas, até meses de trabalho. Não só as outras formas de busca de literatura. A solução está disponível a partir de hoje, do dia 25 de abril até o dia 25 de maio. Então, utilizem ela, fiquem à vontade. A, a sessão de capacitação foi gravada, eu vou mandar para vocês o link. Vou mandar também alguns materiais de uso, primeiros materiais, mas vocês vão ter o meu e-mail, o e-mail do Iracle, então podem escrever para a gente, fiquem à vontade. Professora Cássia, eu vi que você é da UNEB, que você gostaria. Então, eu acho que vai aparecer na minha lista de participantes o seu e-mail. Se você não se incomodar, eu te busco para a gente tentar coordenar uma sessão de capacitação lá. E aí eu libero para
Ok.
toda a comunidade da UNEB. Pode ser assim?
Pode ser. É porque eu tentei fazer agora o acesso, mas ele não liberou. Disse que só com e-mail institucional. Mas eu estou usando o e-mail institucional, então tem que ter uma outra liberação aí, né?
É porque a forma como está liberado, ele está liberado só para quem está dentro da instituição. Mas eu posso, no da
Ok.
UNEB, liberar por... Isso, podem sim. Deixa eu perguntar para o Iracle. Iracle, eu vou parar a gravação, só um minutinho.
Okay, go ahead.